Get me that signal. We need more power.
We are at Gen Con, and it's only Friday, and I am talking with Scott Hill from Flying Frog Productions once again. Scott, we're back here. We're at Gen Con again. What's going on so far?
We're back here once again. We do it every year, but no, it's wonderful. It's great to see you.
Yeah, you too. How you been?
Good. And this is not only Gen Con 50, but this is Gen Con 10 for us.
Really?
So this is our 10-year anniversary. 10 years ago today. I don't know if it was today, but let's say 10 years ago today, we were on the show floor of Gen Con for the very first time with our first booth. We had one little 10-foot by 10-foot booth. No one knew our names. We had this unknown game called Last Night on Earth, and we revealed it to the public for the very first time on this show floor. And here we are 10 years later, and we've got a big booth, and we have a 10-year anniversary edition of Last Night on Earth to commemorate 10 years.
Nice.
I can't believe it's been 10 years. It feels like it flew by. But it also feels like 1,000 lifetimes. Right. I don't know how that's possible, but simultaneously it feels like both. I can show you.
Yes.
This is the lumbering, enormous box that is the 10-year anniversary edition of Last Night on Earth. And so we made it a big enough box that it can actually hold your entire collection of all the expansions. And it has a very nice tray and dividers to hold everything. Besides that, it's a really snazzy kit here. It has the whole main game. And a lot of people, as soon as we announced we were going to do this, they said, okay, well, will there be an upgrade kit so that we don't have to, like, I already own it. Why would I buy it again? But I don't even know where we would draw the line if there was an upgrade kit. It's not like the same game with just a thin veneer of new stuff. It's like we went through and revamped everything.
So it's a complete revised edition.
Yeah, so I mean, we went through all the cards. There's stuff that always bothered me, like on the zombie cards, every single one of them, somehow the drop shadow got turned off on the title bar. And so every time I play, I'm just like, because I don't know how it happened. And it's always bothered me. I'm sure most people didn't notice it, but I went through, I fixed it. I can sleep at night again, finally, after 10 years. And so, but we touched every card. We kind of souped up the colors. We revised the text to make sure it's in line with all of the games, because now we have the perspective of having all those expansions and 10 years of stuff. Yes. We went through the board and redid all the text and the lines for legibility. We redid the colors to make them a little more saturated and vibrant. All the things that used to be tokens in the original game now are like full-on miniatures, including an old truck that you can escape in. But there's minis.
You've plussed it.
I know, yes. And with the minis for everything from the wounds and experience points and spawn pits and gas markers and fires. But even old Betsy, the dog, has her own miniature now. We took 4 of the townsfolk heroes and made them full-fledged heroes you can play. So now you can actually play as Doc Brody or Jeb the Grease Monkey or Mr. Hyde the shop teacher.
Nice.
It also has new cards. It has the rules for fire and experience and the upgrade stuff. And we actually included new upgrade decks for heroes and zombies as well. So it's chock full of stuff. It has new scenarios. We included all the scenarios that we ever released on the web now are in the book and actually printed. And the book, the rule book, is this massive. It's like that thick, and it has all the rules for from all the games, like all the expansions, all in one place. And there's a nice index and a glossary. There's 3 pages of FAQ, and it all came together in a really nice package. Because now, instead of just you write the basic rules and then there's an expansion a couple of years later, and then another one a couple of years later, and so you have a bunch of books. Now it's all in one place, and because we had that hindsight is 2020. We could go through and organize it where everything makes sense about where it goes, and you can kind of touch on things where they're all together in one cohesive thing. It's a fantastic package. We're doing it as a limited set because it's not meant to replace Last Night on Earth.
Yeah.
It's meant to just be kind of a special collector's edition for fans, and so we didn't want it to be like, oh well, now that this is out, throw the other one in the garbage or something like that. That's still viable. That's the main set. We're sticking by that. So this, we did one single print run. It's coming out this fall in October, and each one is actually has a laser hollow sticker here. and they're numbered. So you can see this is number 126 out of 6,000, and that's it. And so when the run is gone, it's gone. So we're expecting it'll last less than a year, probably 6 months or something,
Right.
and then it'll be just back to the normal game and business as usual. And we're in an interesting time because now that we've hit 10 years, we're coming up on like the 10-year anniversary of each of our
all your
games as we
games,
go.
wow.
So it's a cool thing where we're going to look at like revisiting each one as we go while still doing new stuff. And so it'll be cool.
So we may see other 10th anniversary.
We're talking about
like
it.
Conquest of Planet Earth.
Nothing has been promised yet. Don't hold me to it. But next year is the 10th anniversary of A Touch of Evil, and
Yes,
so that's gonna be the true test. We're gonna see. We're gonna look at it and see what we can put together. Besides that, we also want to do something new for Last Night on Earth. So we made Hero Pack 2. Hero Pack 1 had a bunch of new characters and a new scenario. Everybody really loved it, and they've been clamoring for more characters, more scenarios. And so because we did the first one and we thought we'd be cheeky, and we put Hero Pack 1. And so instantly people are like, well, where's 2? Where's 3? How many are there? Let's have 10 of these things. And we're like, okay, well, we'll get to it. We just were being funny, you know. Well, it's number 1. And so here it is, Hero Pack 2 after 10 years. Now finally others can sleep at night as well. But the cool
We
part,
can all rest easy.
exact. Well, hopefully you can get some sleep now. But no. The cool thing about this is some of the characters actually were around before the game ever came out. Because when Jason, designed the game, he had this huge array of characters, and he didn't have to worry about how many can we afford to put in the game and how many, So we had to cut it down to a cast of 8 for the original game. But he already had like 15, 16 guys done, and so it was like we zigged instead of zagged. But some of these characters, like the cheerleader or Maria the Bookworm, they were around 10, 15 years ago, and so it's just interesting because we ended up with Jenny the farmer's daughter, and everybody knows her and loves her, and she's been around forever.
Right.
But there was a time where it was like, oh well, will it be Jenny or will it be the cheerleader? And so it's just interesting that finally, after all this time, some of these characters are coming out. So even though they're new for most people, for us, it's like, oh, finally, like we get to play the cheerleader. And so it's cool. It has a biker, a cheerleader, chemical engineer, and like a scientist who works at the plant, and Maria the Bookworm. She's such a staple of like horror movies where it's like
definitely.
the bookish girl where it's like, I shouldn't have come on this trip to the cabin, but she always knows, like, I read about this. Like, you need that person who has the knowledge. I think it's a good, it moves the story along for the writers.
Oh,
It
of
helps
course.
them.
And that's usually the one that survives.
Yes. and then it stars in the sequel and is a lot sexier. It's like, weren't you a bookworm? Anyway, so it includes new cards and also a new scenario, Left Behind. So this will be available in November.
Perfect.
So other stuff to talk about, I can pull some of these up. So we have a number of new expansions coming out for Shadows of Brimstone this fall.
There we go.
This right here is a deluxe expansion called Undead Outlaws and the Undead Gunslinger. And because it's deluxe, it's a bigger box here, and it has actually a ton of new cards for the game, and also these 2 new enemy types, Undead Outlaws and the Undead Gunslinger. The Undead Gunslinger himself is actually kind of a shadowy figure that will come out of the shadows in the mine and challenge you to a duel, points out his bony finger, and you can fight him that way as kind of an encounter, or you can actually have run into him as an epic threat, like the big end boss in a game. And the Undead Outlaws, this is something right like day one of Shadows of Brimstone, we're like, it would be so cool if we had undead cowboys, like undead gunslingers that you're fighting. And so this was a staple. We knew we had to do it. And ironically, it's taken this long for us to actually get it out onto the shelves. But we're so excited that the Undead Outlaws are finally coming out. Besides that, this right here is Belial, last of the Shadow Kings. So he's kind of the king of hell in Cinder. He presides over it. And it's an enormous model that we're really proud of. He turned out just fantastic. And this comes with a huge amount of, he's a deluxe and an XXL enemy pack. So not only is he huge, but he comes with a ton of new cards, including an entire deck of shadow magic spells that he can cast. But he's basically like a god that your lowly cowboys have to try to fight. And so ever since people started getting this with the Kickstarter, they've just been going nuts for it, and people have been clamoring, because when you're online and you weren't part of the Kickstarter, you're seeing people play with this amazing stuff, and you're like, when is this coming out? When is that coming out? And so many emails we get, people are saying like, did I miss it? Are you ever going to print it again? It's like, no, it's not out yet. It's a weird thing with the Kickstarter, but this is the #1 thing that people have been wanting, and I'm proud to say it'll be out in November and people can get it. Besides that, we also have another giant figure, the Burrower. It's another XXL, and I don't know if you can tell from the box alone, but it is a huge, very Cthulhu, giant worm creature, and it's a big epic threat that is sure to destroy all of your posse handily, and you'll love every minute of it.
You're going to force me to finally learn how to paint.
Oh yes,
it is really difficult. I am not artistic in any way.
Just think of the new series of painting tutorial videos that you can get out of this. Like, this is great. Voice of E, the new painting network. It could work. I'm telling you, this is a new facet for you.
Learn from the beginning.
That's right. That's right.
I'll look at my daughter. She's 10. She's better than me.
No, you can say, well, I mean, I'm an expert painter, but let's do basic tutorial. I don't want to go over.
We want you all to learn.
Yes, exactly.
Learn with me.
Well, Jason and I, we're big Games Workshop fans. We love, like all the miniature painting, and there's a whole hobby element to it. It's so much fun. It's very relaxing painting, and it's very rewarding. And so with Shadows of Brimstone, we were like, this is really that type of game. It would be really fun to share that kind of hobby aspect of things with people that play our games, and I think it's been very well received. People are very excited about that, and we hear a lot like, I never painted miniatures before, but this is really cool. And
the other aspect that I like is it has been a long time since I actually had put figures together.
Yeah.
Because most minis nowadays, you get them, then you just paint, you prime them and paint them.
Right.
But you've got the figures that you have to assemble.
Right.
And God, it's been years since it's a little like model building, but it's not difficult.
Everybody had model kits and did it's a Ford Mustang or whatever when you were a kid.
Yes,
or
and it was so good. I felt it was like bringing my youth back, putting these things together. It was very cool.
Well, and it also gives you options because, we'll try to have on the sprues different heads or like more arms, and you can kind of customize it. And sometimes you can pose them. Sometimes you're making choices about the different arms or heads or whatever, or different weapons. And so when you do that, it's so much more personal too. And it's like, I made those choices. I am doing this. I'm creating it. And so I think it's just another whole hobby aspect to it that people sometimes don't even know about, and it unlocks a whole new world for them. So we're excited to share that kind of stuff. I'll go over just like the last couple of these. So if you want to, look at this. This right here is the Allies of the Old West. Again, coming out this fall. This is really cool because now your Old West posse isn't just heroes, but you can hire henchmen or a blacksmith. You can have a faithful dog that can join you, or a pack mule. And so each of these actually comes with a basic and an advanced version of it. And in the basic version, they kind of act as not necessarily models on the board, but support. They give you bonuses. In the advanced version of these guys, then they're actually with you and you're pulling them through the mine. When I say pulling them, I mean like the donkey, the burrower, not the blacksmith. Come on, let's go. He's like, I've got my hammer, But it's a lot of fun, and it comes with a bunch of new, a specialty allies deck where instead of just, standard henchmen, you might be able to get specialty henchmen like a loco or a deputy or an Indian brave or something like that. And then there's also new darkness cards and new gear and artifacts and stuff like that. So it's a really cool set. This is going to be, I think, this year's like must-have expansion for Shadows of Brimstone, because you can use it in every single game, and it really helps out your heroes and kind of fleshes out the storyline.
Awesome.
All right, there's a couple more. All this stuff is coming out in the next few months. We're very excited. The only reason we have it here at Gen Con is because we air freighted it in from China.
Right.
And it was so down to the wire, it arrived at our hotel. Like we couldn't have it come to a warehouse. It was air freighted, and pallets were delivered in front of the hotel. I mean, it was down to the wire. We got it the day before the show, but it allowed us to get these here early so that people at Gen Con could be the first kid on their block to have it, which is what it's all about. And we love to have these surprises and have it be really exciting. People, hopefully we've gotten a reputation for, if you come to our booth at Gen Con, you're going to be surprised, and there's going to be something that'll knock your socks off. You can get it early and that kind of stuff.
Right, exactly.
So these are the Scourge rats, and they're really cool. There's actually just a ton of them. They're small, kind of mutated rats. So I say they're small. They're big for rats. I mean, if there was one right here, it would be enormous. It would be bigger than a dog.
Oh my God, there is one.
Yeah, add that in CG. We'll put it in post later. Look. Oh, geez. No. All right. I can't wait to see what you're going to do with that. All right. But no, for the miniature-wise, they're fairly small, but you get 12 of them, and then there's a rat's nest. And this, I'm going to confess right now, this idea comes directly from that old-school Atari game Gauntlet. Do you remember how they would have a monster generator, and it would be kicking out monsters, and you can fight all the monsters you want, but until you take out the generator, they're just going to keep coming, and like the rat's nest is just generating more and more, so you have to fight your way through all these rats and then destroy the nest so that no more come out. And it makes for very fun gameplay. Yep. All right, and then last but not least, this is another deluxe enemy pack, meaning that it has a bunch of guys, 2 different enemy types, and a slew of new cards. This is the Flesh Stalker and his Flesh Drones. And this is one of the creepiest guys that we made in all of Shadows of Brimstone, because he's an alien scientist that experiments on humans and other aliens. And so he basically, this guy in this big lab coat with all these tools all around him, it's very Hellraiser or something. He's like a Cenobite.
Right.
But he comes out through the portal at night, creeps into a campsite, steals humans, and then hauls them back through his portal so that he can do experiments on them.
I have to sleep at night.
I know. Well, you should be able to, because we have the new Last Night on Earth out, so it's okay. No, that's me. I get to sleep at night. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Well, so the thing is, when he's doing these experiments, he ends up cobbling together pieces of different people and aliens and making minions that will do his bidding. And so he comes with these Flesh Drone guys, and they basically they're wearing big kind of raincoat kind of things over their atrocities, and so you can't fully see them, but on the parts that are exposed you can see just like big stitches where arms have been sewn on and legs. So they're these Frankenstein's monster kind of mashup creations of his, and they do his bidding. And he's just this crazy evil alien scientist. So he is a ton of fun, and he comes with some cool new missions and new cards and an entire deck of tools of terror of his implements of destruction and experimentation. It's gruesome stuff. So it's pretty great with Shadows of Brimstone. It allows us to, it's kind of an open world where we can do a lot with it, because it's always based in the gritty Old West, and we always want that. It should always be the heroes are these gritty cowboys. It's very John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, cigar chomping 6-shooters. You got your pack mule and your henchman, and you're headed in, whatever. But the things that you're facing, because these things are coming through portals, and you can go through the portals to other worlds, and there's demons and aliens and everything. We really can do a bunch of stuff with it, and this speaks to the more horror side of things.
Yes.
And then some other ones are more, demon and supernatural and that kind of thing.
You guys, I saw you guys had what was it, Derelict?
Derelict Ship, that's the new. I probably should have been talking about that as well, but it released just a couple months ago, and it's the new Otherworld, and it is a derelict ship.
So it's like a sci-fi
careening through space, and you go through a portal, and suddenly you're, Bandito and Saloon Girl are like, where are we? And you're on a spaceship, and the crew is gone, and so you're walking around looking at all these lights and panels, and then you find out that the crew's not so much missing as undead, and they're these necronauts is what we call them, and they're basically zombies in spacesuits wandering the halls and trying to take you out. But it incorporates everything that we love about different sci-fi movies. There's big hydroponic gardens that's very what was it, Silent Running? I don't know if you remember that.
Yes,
in the 70s. I loved that movie, and they had the big hydroponic forests and everything. So when we were doing that, I'm like, we have to have the hydroponic gardens. And there's probe, beacon drones roaming the halls, and auto turrets, stuff from Aliens, and everything. Every sci-fi movie, we're just like, oh, this, because we love delving into the theme and the genre of these different things.
Yeah, exactly. That is what is so cool about Shadows of Brimstone. You guys come out with, well, here's a new universe for you guys to play with.
It's very exciting. And our new Kickstarter we did last fall, Forbidden Fortress.
Right.
And that's basically Shadows of Brimstone engine, but it takes place in feudal Japan. This is a banner for it right here. And you see a bunch of these Takobake soldiers of the fallen shogun. He's kind of a big villain in the game. But this one, just as Shadows of Brimstone was everything we love about great, like gritty old west, Western movies, this is everything we love about samurai movies and martial arts movies and that kind of stuff all put in here. So it starts based in very traditional feudal Japan, but of course the Darkstone has caused all these mutations and opened up portals, and so demons are coming through. And so it got us an opportunity to, delve into some Japanese mythology. And we have demons, like Japanese mythology is deep with crazy demons. And the more we researched it, the more we're just like, what? And there's crazy stuff. There's one that's called an akaname, and it's a filth liquor. And it's this demon that
I've met a few of those.
Yeah, I dated a few of those, right? No, I was reading about it, and it's supposed to be that it has this big barbed tongue, and it's supposed to like lick your bathroom floor. And I don't know why. Why specifically the bathroom? It kind of makes no sense, but I don't know. I didn't grow up in the Japanese culture. I'm sure it all makes sense.
Well, obviously.
If you're in Japan, it's like, oh, yes, the akaname, it licks your bathroom floor. And it's like, so that's disgusting, right? It's like, well, it's helpful as well, because we don't have to have a maid. It licks the floor. We don't have to do much. But no, it was a lot of fun, and we've been working on that really hard. And
so it's the same basic mechanics, kind of same
engine. Same mechanics, yeah.
New base set.
It's a new core set, and there's some new expansions part of it too, yeah. And the best part is it's fully compatible with Shadows of Brimstone. And so, people are going to be able to, like, right out of the box from Forbidden Fortress, they could buy Tradera or, Caverns of Cinder or the Derelict Ship and just, like, add that right on, and suddenly they're samurai and geisha and wherever they could be exploring that same derelict ship. And you can actually have mixed parties as well, where you could have a gunslinger next to a sumo, and you're going to Tradera to check stuff out. So it's fully compatible, and it also makes sense in the world, because the portals don't just necessarily go to another place, but possibly across time. And so you can go through a portal from feudal Japan and end up in 1800s Old West. So it's very cool. It all connects. It all connects. It all makes sense.
It's all connected.
That's right. There's a very dark room that Jason has with a board that's just covered in small scraps of paper and photos and like little scrawled horrible writings, and then just like thread, like all crisscrossing everywhere that connects it all together. I've seen it, but no one else is allowed to see it. It's the master plan, is what we call it, and it all makes sense.
Only a man named Roland who's ever quested to get up to that
and no one's
door.
Seen him. No one's ever seen him again. So the last thing I'll tell you about is that we are going to do a cool event, and for the first time ever, we're doing our own Flying Frog event, and it's called Dice Fest. The poster's a little wobbly, so I'm not sure that it'll be able to see. There we go. It's called Dice Fest, and we're doing this actually locally to us. So it's going to be in Redmond, Washington. It's going to be the weekend it's like Halloween weekend. It's October 28th and 29th of this year, and it's we don't have to hold this up the entire time, but the idea behind it is that we go to all these conventions, and it's really cool. We're part of Gen Con, and this is awesome, and we love that. But at the same time, we're like a little fish in a big pond, and we're just kind of a piece of a whole experience. One thing that the Kickstarter allowed us to do that we didn't necessarily expect, we did some pickup events, and it was very strange because a bunch of people are coming, like locally. It was in Seattle, we did one, and so we had like 70 or 80 people come to pick up their stuff. And we rented a venue, and we're like, well, if they're coming out, like, we should entertain them. So we did some demos, and we did like a preview of new stuff, and it was a very different experience from what we get going to conventions normally, because a lot of times it's like, oh, have you played any of our games? Like we can show you whatever. And some conventions we go to, especially if it's not necessarily in our genre, like a comic convention or a horror convention or a video game convention or something like that. We'll say, like, have you played any of our games? No? Oh, have you ever played a board game? Do you play any board game? Monopoly? Oh, yeah. Shadows of Brimstone's basically like Monopoly, like here. And then we try to connect the dots and show them how it works. But it finishes, and the next person comes up, and it's the same thing.
You
and
gotta
so
go through it all again.
You're at square one at most of the time. And so when we did this pickup event, it was really cool because even though it was smaller, there were like 70 people or something like that, but everyone in the entire room already played the game and loved it. And so instead of like trying to explain just the basics of it, we had these like higher level conversations where people are like, well, I saw that you did this and this. Have you ever considered doing that? We're like, oh my God, you already know what's going on. Oh, we can talk in this other way. And so it became very interesting. We thought it would be really cool to do our own event where people already play the games. And so instead of doing like kind of base level demos, we can take it and do just crazy mega battles and huge, 3D tables built up where people would say like, they built all of Caverns of Cinder, like this is insane, and they would know what's going on. They wouldn't be like, what's this game, And so so that's the idea behind it. We want to do something smaller, but for people that already play the games, so we can kind of take it to the next level and do really, really cool and outlandish things. Right. So the stuff we already have planned for it, we're going to have a bunch of these big 3D tables for multiple games. We're going to have huge events. We're going to have tournaments, painting contests, costume contest. We're going to do stuff like have panels. The main one we're going to do is to reunite the entire cast and makers of Last Night on Earth for the 10-year anniversary.
Nice.
And do like a panel talking about the making of it, and then that'll go directly into signing. So I'm such a fanboy of everything, and I'm so excited to get my Last Night on Earth signed by everybody because a lot of the people we shot with them back in 2006 or 2007, and then we didn't see them again. Where we had a box where we could like sign it. We sent them a game or whatever, but I don't even have a copy signed by everyone. And now not only will I get one, but everyone who attends can go down the line and get their game signed by just like everyone who made it, and that's awesome. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
And then besides that, we're going to do a concert. Mary Beth's going to play a concert with a bunch of other musicians that played on some of the soundtracks. So a concert of soundtrack stuff. It's a lot of crazy things that normally we would never be able to do at any convention. Even something as big as Gen Con, we can't do a concert. Like,
we'll get our own place and put on our own show.
Yeah, but it'll be smaller but just more concentrated and our own stuff. So we're hoping that everybody comes out and joins us. It's called Dice Fest, October 28th and 29th in the Seattle area of Washington. And one other thing I will say is we have an exclusive new miniature, this one right here, that comes with admission. It's Dice Fest exclusive, and everybody who gets a ticket gets the miniature as well. And the tickets for it for the 2-day event are $40. But early bird pricing, it's $30 up through August 31st. And they can get them on our website and our web store.
Scott, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to talk to me here again. And man, you guys just keep growing. It's a great thing.
Yes, at least we've established that I can sleep at night. So once I actually do that, that I should be able to, theoretically. But we'll make it happen. Well, thank you so much.
Right.
It wouldn't be Gen Con without talking to you.
Yep, I agree.
All right, thanks.
That's it. We need more power.